Madam Speaker, I kind of pride myself on the ability to be able to read some legislation, proposed legislation, be able to figure what it says and what it does. And I'm looking at the underlying bill, and I'm looking at the amendment that's before us right now. And, you know, they're very similar in the way it's drafted. But I've heard the comments by my colleagues here this morning, and I'm wondering if Representative France can tell the chamber what are the differences between the underlying bill and this amendment, and why do we need this amendment? Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative France.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank the good representative for his question. There are 5 principal differences between the bill as proposed, or the resolution as proposed, and the amended resolution that I have proposed and we have been debating. The first is the definition of transportation purposes. Nowhere in the proposed amendment or proposed resolution is there a definition of transportation purposes. It leaves that up to interpretation by a future legislature. In the amendment that is proposed to replace that resolution, we specifically define what is transportation purposes. In addition to that, along that same line, the resolution as presented only allows payments to debt service on transportation obligations. The amendment also allows payment to non-debt service related operating costs, which are currently already being paid for out of the transportation fund, and it also caps the growth in those non-debt service related operating expenses at 3% per year. So it caps the ability to grow that amount. The second major point is it states that the sources will be credited only as credit, which essentially means, as has been discussed, the legislature can change what gets put into the transportation fund each succeeding year. Ours explicitly states that the funds that are currently going into the transportation fund as of the adoption of the amendment are locked in by their source as they're defined now. And in addition, if there's any future funds that are adopted by this legislature that are designated for the Special Transportation Fund, they also will be locked up under that same provision. So that's the second thing. The third, we've already had discussion, is that the current resolution as proposed allows it to be changed by statute. You'll see the word statute in the constitutional language. We have no such language in the amendment, so that removes the ability of the legislature to enact statute and fundamentally change the Constitution of the state of Connecticut without going back to the people of the state of Connecticut. The fourth area is there's no prohibition in the existing resolution as proposed of sweeping that money or diverting it ahead of getting in the Special Transportation Fund, which has been one of the things this legislature has done year over year, and not expended the full amount of money within the revenue sources that are supposed to go in the Special Transportation Fund. Our amendment that is proposed to change that explicitly prohibits that. And the final thing that Representative O'Neill summarized aptly is it gives it the authority of the Supreme Court of the state of Connecticut to have authority over the actions of this legislature with respect to this amendment, and gives standing for a citizen of this state to hold this legislature accountable within the court system. Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Smith.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to thank Representative France for that clarification. I know some of the colleagues around here and that I've talked to this morning were wondering what the differences are. We now know, obviously, that the amendment's much stronger. If we're going to have a lockbox, we might as well have one that actually works, we can count on, and we know forevermore we'll be locked into it. So I support the amendment, Madam Speaker, and I encourage my colleagues to do the same. Thank you.